there when you just simply you can think of as IT that involves communication. So let me tell you a little bit about the technologies, the communication part. Well, the communication part, the Alexander Bell. That's the guy, Alexander Bell, Bell. That's the guy who invented telephone, right? But that go way back. I mean, that's the telephone part. Even the telephone, if you think about it, when you were little, I don't know if when you start to have cell phones, but when you were little, your parents probably gave you a phone, first phone. That's probably not smartphone. I don't know if you had a smartphone back in your middle school or yeah, probably you had smartphones, right? But people start to have smartphones. Phones were a little bit old. When I was young, I didn't have a cell phone. We didn't have cell phones. In fact, the cell phones came. I started to use cell phones back in 90s, in the middle of the 90s, and it was really expensive. Okay, and it was like a kind of, if you think about like a smartphone, you like to show off your Apple cell phones. At one point it was like that, right? Oh, I got a new Apple, I got a new Samsung. Back in the old days, it was kind of like that, old cell phones. We were kind of, showing off business people. It was kind of showing off their like a new toy, So it was, and also there was like a car phones. People had some people had a car phone. Not just a phone, but they were built with antenna. It was like a car phone. So cars can your car can have antenna, and you're driving an automobile cars, and the cars will have like a phones, and they can communicate with each other. Okay, so cars are the phones, automobiles. That was kind of like a, actually that was not bad. So the phones, after that, the phones, actually the first phone was really big. The size was really big. And then it kept on, getting better, getting better. And then it was an analog system, basically analog meaning just the waves. And then they became digital. Information got digital. That means zeros and ones. It's been evolved a lot. So nowadays the phones are a lot better. We use smartphones. Starting maybe 10 years ago, we start to use lots of smartphones. So I guess you had your phones when you were little, cell phones, but of course we didn't have cell phones we didn't have a concept of owning a cell phone. We just didn't have a concept. In fact, it was difficult to communicate. If you didn't have arrangement, it was a little bit difficult. Either you're home, we call, like if you had to call somebody, we just call home. Or work, we just hardline phone. no wireless stuff. And then like I said, the different cell phones, when I was in like a 20s, I started to see cell phones, that sort of thing. So anyway, so communication has developed a lot. Not only that, what about the computers? Now computers, they could talk to each other. Computers through like a telephone wires, they could talk to each other, and then they said, well, telephone wires are good, but we can use like a different wiring system to communicate. So telephone, the not just the wireless, the weird, like the wired stuff. There are two types. One is a wireless, and the wireless mean what does a wireless mean? What does wireless mean? Wireless means without wire. Okay, wired means something hard line with a physical line, like your telephone line, your cable line. At home, you have a line coming from like a back of the wall to your computer. That's wired stuff. So computer wiring. We go back several decades. We used to have a wired. The thing is that the speed got faster. Tremendous speed. So all about this communication, one thing is the speed. So tremendous speed. We can get to technical things, but speed got really unbelievably fast. Even the computers got fast, so fast. Back in old days, computers, computers weren't like that slow. It was a little bit slow, but because they were slow, we had operating systems that we just, for example, we didn't have like a Windows. It was kind of, slow us down. So it was usable because we didn't have like all these graphics and that sort of things. So back in old days, computers were slow. The CPU, what we call CPU, the central processing unit. But because we use a text, it was usable. It was not like a boom boom boom, but it was usable. It was not bad. But what about transmission? Well, if you are slow, that you cannot transmit a lot. That means you can't send the graphics file, but you can send text messages, right? So that sort of thing. So you cannot send huge files. Your image files, your video, like graphics, like video files, like a really huge. So back in old days, we can deal with that sort of things. But okay, so they were really slow compared to nowadays. So we just send kind of text messages. So we can get to those details, but my point is the speed got faster, computers got faster, the internet got faster. What about the internet? Well, the internet, when I was little, we didn't have a concept of internet. There was nobody knew what internet was. There was nothing. But what happened was I got into college, and then I started to I was like early one who actually use the internet. But if you ask your parents probably didn't start to use internet until maybe probably late 90s. I think your parents probably not technical people. Most people probably not technical enough. That I got into internet a little bit early, like early 90s, but I was one of those few people. But most people start to use internet starting late 90s and year 2000 after. So, the technology has kind of, without going to history, it just evolved a lot. It just changed a lot. Overall, the speed got faster, The speed is important because it allows you to do a lot of things that you couldn't do before, Because if you are slow, the applications you cannot run. So it's kind of hand in hand. You need the more speed in order to have more applications. More applications, you need the more speed, So computer got faster, software got better, the computer got faster each time, and of course you got like a guy like a Bill Gates and Steve Jobs kind of helped us a lot in terms of desktop computers, but there are other forms of computers besides the desktops, like mainframes and those are kind of bigger computers. But anyway, that's a little bit about the history. So that's, and then we are only talking about computer technologies, but there are some other technologies we deal with. That just changed so much. For example, like robotics, even the software, like AIs and like a virtual reality, and all these technologies have been developed nowadays. There's so much technology you probably don't know, and I probably don't know. Okay. So that's very important that we utilize the technologies that impacts like libraries too, all the businesses, you can imagine, all kinds of opportunities. Anyway, hey, it's good that we have South Korea ranked high in this ICT sector. I don't know who came up with this, but this certainly looks good. Right? I think it depends how you rank this. But what does this mean? Let's say OECD country by share of ICT sector. That means we just put a lot of resources on the ICT. That does mean that we are rich, South Korea is rich, or we have the best technology. In fact, we probably rank pretty low, not really low, but lower than some of these top countries in terms of technology. But this just means sector, share of the sector. What does share of the sector? Probably by share of the ICT sector. Probably our country, that means our country put a lot of resources onto ICT. The reason is, Korea doesn't have a lot of land. We don't have farms. We don't have like a farming industries. We don't process any oils, and we have like Samsungs and all these companies. They need to make money, right? Like ICTs and technologies. That's probably the reason why we are ranked high. We put a lot of faith on the technologies. Anyway, I think so much fun for that. So a little bit about impacts on the education, some other things, without going through all this stuff. Now all this stuff you can look at it, and going back to our plan. This class is not like those, histories, but we get into technical things. So I'll post some links for you next time about the device, computers, and basic stuff about networking, internets, and a lot of, in a way, it's a technical things that's probably helpful if I explain it to you, So we'll deal with these topics. Okay, so my plan is, let me emphasize, no presentations, basically 3 assignments, little bit less than the previous semester probably. As far as the workload, 3 assignments during the semester. 1 assignment deals with the programming, 1 assignment probably the Excel, 1 assignment maybe this, I'm not sure. Maybe this combined as a 1 assignment, but 3 assignments. I'll have to think about how am I gonna do this stuff, how I'm going to do this, figure out the assignments. But basically 3 assignments, 2 exams. Okay, so that's about it for today, and for next class I'll upload the videos by Friday. Since our next class is a Friday, you can watch the videos during the weekend, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me questions. Okay, so you have a nice day, and welcome to ICT again, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.